We have been conducting this India Smart Utility Week since 2015. This is the sixth edition. We had one, two people from Switzerland coming in the past years. I think the speaker. Can you attend to the speaker? It's making. Hello. This speaker making some. Yeah. So this is the first time we are hosting a delegation, and that too very high-powered delegation along with the industry and many of them startups in the new technology areas. We are really delighted to have you and we also have done in the past 8 editions of EU India Smart Grid Workshop, started with uh, in Nice in 2015. So a delegation of about 15-20 people from India, we had gone. European Commission, DG Energy Office organizes that. So every year, one workshop we've been doing as part of India Smart Utility Week, one in Europe. So we have done 8 editions and 9th happening parallelly in the other room. That will go on. Those who are here after this session will be over with lunch. But post-lunch also, that EU-India workshop will be continuing. You are most welcome to join there. We'll be talking about some collaboration for the Horizon 2020, the next call which will come. Actually, they had issued it in September. Some scope changes happened, so it's going to be reissued in May. So it's more about the distributed energy islands is the main theme of that. So the background to that is that when we were doing these workshops, we talked about many successful smart grid projects executed in Europe, which are in several hundreds now. Many of them are relevant in the Indian context, and we requested them that some of these technologies which you have implemented there, please bring it to India. It's in a different challenges, different complex scenario. Why don't we implement those technologies and evaluate them? So 2018, European Commission approved that, and one small project, an experimental project, was approved in 2019. It was signed between Enedis, the two utilities participating in that as Enedis and Tata Power Delhi Distribution. It's called iElectrics. So if you later in the day or tomorrow, if you have time, if you visit the European Pavilion in the exhibition hall, iElectrics is explained. That's in the work. It should be completed sometime towards the end of this year. So from last year, from looking at the encouragement from both sides, so it was decided that we will do a joint call, 9 million euro from India side through Department of Science and Technology, and 9 million euro from Horizon 2020 fund, 18 million euro, this distributed energy islands project which comes. Ideally, we expect 3 or 4 demonstration sites in India or 3 or 4 demonstration sites in Europe. So an ideal combination will be a utility from India, a utility from Europe, and some technology companies from both sides, and some academia research from both sides. That's a true combination of consortiums should apply. We expect at least 5-6 good proposals to come in, of which 2 or 3 will be approved. And this time we want to take it to at least one state utilities. Those who are first time, I will give a very brief intro about the utility scenario in India. So in power generation, we operate today the 3rd largest power system in the world. But as a grid, perhaps ours is the largest single grid with close to 370 gigawatt. Sneha, you want to ask me anything? Thank you. Sorry. So I parallelly manage a lot of logistics, so you have to excuse me for this kind of interruptions. So in the transmission grid which we have is fairly advanced, because most of the systems we built in the last 10-15 years. So the entire Indian subcontinent, this 370 gigawatt of generation capacity, operated as one grid. Earlier we made it into regional grids, interconnected the states. We are 28 states and 9 union territories. So each region we made regional grids with regional control centers, and we started interconnecting them on HVDC, high voltage 500 kV back-to-back HVDC line. We started interconnecting the regions in the past, and later some regions we connected between them on AC line, and now entire system is on AC interconnection and HVDC interconnections, and we operate 800 kV and 500 kV HVDC lines, and we operate 765 kV and 400 kV transmission AC lines, which are highest voltages, and doing some experiments on 1200 kV AC lines. So the transmission side, everything is very good. Generation side, as I said, almost 40% of the generation is private. Its private participation is there. The government of India owned public sector undertakings contribute about 30%. Another 30% is by the state government owned generation companies. When it comes to about out of 370, about 87 gigawatt is from renewables, and of which we added that 50 to 60 gigawatt of renewables only in the last 5 years. And that 87 doesn't include hydro. It's just solar, wind, and biomass put together. And we are pursuing a renewable program of 175 gigawatt by 2022. We may reach somewhere 160 to 170 according to the latest estimates. 87 we already done. And according to the Paris commitment, 40% energy coming from non-fossil fuels from by 2030. We have to increase that 175 gigawatt to 450 gigawatt. So that's a new commitment which we have made. Plans are being made. So how to integrate that massive amount of, at that point in time, 2030, if we reach 450 gigawatt, that will be almost 60% of the total installed capacity. This 370 will become somewhere above 700. So it's going to be huge challenge. New technologies are required. There is enough scope for that. So I'm very happy to see many technology companies part of this delegation, and would like to hear. I didn't touch upon the distribution side. I touched only about the generation and transmission. Coming to the distribution, 95% of the distribution business in India is owned and operated by the distribution companies owned by respective state governments. I talked about 28 states and 9 union territories. Each one of them have. Some states, the original days we had something called State Electricity Board, which was an extended arm of the state government itself. They had no balance sheet, nothing. It was a government department. They were the one which developed the power system and entered into the power business post-independence. But later in the 1990s, we brought in the market, private participants we brought in. So we unbundled the state electricity boards into separate generation companies, transmission companies, and distribution companies. So only in 2 states some privatization happened. The distribution companies were privatized in Delhi in 2002, in Orissa in 1998, but it went through many problems, and which is being again privatized now as we speak. But otherwise, some places we have given franchisee operation, some section of the distribution system given to some private agency to manage for 15 years, long-term franchisee agreements where they have to do capital investment also. That also didn't take off. Only in 10-15 different towns this has happened. But so by and large, 95% of the distribution business is owned and operated by state government-owned distribution companies who have come under the challenges of one, capital infusion for regular upgradation of their systems. Number 2, tariffs are set with political agenda, socio-political agenda. So, and each of these 28 states have separately elected governments, and many of the places there are regional parties or a cocktail of political parties, not just one party. So each state, when they go for election, electricity is one area where people try to give free electricity to farmers, because farmers are the one who go to vote. Rest of the people, we all sit in air-conditioned rooms, we don't even go to vote. So we say we are the largest democracy, but only about 58-60% people vote, 40% of them don't go. And so the ones who are going to vote, the politicians know, they try to pamper them by giving subsidized electricity, free electricity, all these things are there. As a result, the average revenue realized per unit of electricity is less than average cost of supply. We call it ACS minus ARR. It's about 30 to 40 paise nationally. In some states, it's more than 1 rupee. So every unit of electricity I buy from a power producer, sell it to my customers, I will lose 1 rupee. In some places 10 paise. But average nationally about 30 paise. It's a big amount. So distribution companies are bleeding, and they are not in a position to invest in technology, in system improvement, etc. So periodically, Government of India. So another important point to note is that electricity is in the concurrent list of the Constitution. We have a federal structure. Certain things are done by only Government of India. That's a federal government. Certain things are done by state governments according to the Constitution. So most of the citizen-facing things are done by state government. But the railways, telecommunication, foreign affairs, defense, these things are done only by the central government. State government cannot write a telecom policy. They cannot have a railway policy. But unfortunately, education, healthcare, electricity, some of the subject which has huge impact on day-to-day life, it is in the concurrent list where both of them can do mischief. Since federal government can write some policy, the state government will say no, only not because of the merit, just because of the political difference. So the same discussion when I have in China, they don't understand that. What is it? but since you come from Europe, where everywhere democracy is there, you can understand and appreciate. Just because of the political difference, say that federal government is ruled by party A. My state government is in the opposition. We will not implement that policy. So in 2003, Electricity Act, when we amended, we made this unbundling of the please come, sir. Unbundling of the State Electricity Board, which I told you, this was an extended arm of the government, operated like a department. So we made it mandatory. Within 1 year from passing of this Electricity Act, all state government should unbundle their electricity board into separate generation, transmission, and distribution companies. Some of them didn't do for 10 years. In 2012, when some of the states where they had no money absolutely to pay even wages, forget about paying back the boards didn't have money to sustain, they came to central government for help, from money from the bank. That time our power secretary, he put a condition saying that banks will not finance electricity board. Banks will finance only electricity companies. You unbundle them into limited company with a balance sheet, then banks will, within 3 months, some 5-6 states have unbundled. so some of the states, very large states, have only one distribution company when they unbundle their electricity boards. So for example, Maharashtra, they have something like 25 million customers. It's only one MSCDCL. But in the Bombay area, there are some private companies like Tata Power operating in the original southern most part of Bombay. Then there is a BEST, Bombay Suburban Electricity and Transport Company, which was constituted as a public limited company during the British days. They have some 3 million customers somewhere in the middle part of it. In the suburban part of it, it was used to be called BSES, and which is now, for several years, it operated as Reliance Energy. 2 years ago, it has gone to Adani Electricity. So those three are private. In a way, management. Rest of the entire Maharashtra, about 25 million customers are with MSCDCL. It's a fairly well-managed distribution company in the country. When you go to Tamil Nadu, there again they have 22 million customers. It's again operated as one distribution company. And West Bengal, they also have more than 20 million customers. It's operated as one company. When you go to Tamil Nadu, adjacent state, Karnataka, when they unbundled distribution into 5 different distribution companies. So as a result of all this unbundling happened, same, the largest state with the maximum population in the country, so close to 270 or 280 million population, Uttar Pradesh, they have 5 distribution companies. They also unbundled into 5. So they all have a state government owned generation company. In each of those states, there are big power plants set up by companies like NTPC, National Thermal Power Corporation, or National Hydroelectric Power Corporation, Nuclear Power Corporation. They all have those power plants, which are all connected to, all those big power plants are all connected to a national power grid, which is operated by Power Grid Corporation of India, and the system operation is done by an entirely separate ISO, independent system operator. We call them POSOCO, Power System Operation Corporation of India. So they just give you an overview about it. So there are close to about 72 distribution licensees. So distribution sector, there are about 72 companies. Any technology, when you look at it, you have 72 clients, including the private ones, which is in Delhi. There are 3 companies. One of them is present here. We call it BSES Rajdhani, which is in the southern part of Delhi. BSES Yamuna, which is eastern part. Yeah, and Tata Power Delhi Distribution, which is in the northwest part. And the area where we are sitting, this is operated by New Delhi Municipal Council. Every property, everything in this area, it's a VVIP area. They have only some 87,000 customers. But this is a different. So Delhi has that 4 different, plus we have a cantonment area near the airport. They are the military engineering services. They run the electricity distribution system. So it's a complex environment. To do any new technology, a pilot trial, one of the private companies will be the fastest one. Decision making in that distribution companies owned by the state governments are delayed. I mean, they have to follow the, like any government agency, they have to go through the tendering process. But all these utilities are regulated by regulators appointed by the separate state governments. There are independent regulatory commissions. We have 28 regulatory commissions in each of the states. Plus, we have at the federal level, we have a central electricity regulatory commission. So we followed the exact, the US model, a federal regulatory commission and state-specific regulatory commission. ISGF is constituted by Ministry of Power, Government of India, with participation from government institutions, utilities, regulators, and academia. Many of the leading academic institutions are our members. So Professor Kaji is here from VJTI. He chairs one of our working group. So you will hear more about what all we do, but we will be very happy to any of the technology companies present here who would like to do a pilot project. In Europe, the utilities are very scared of trying any new technology on the grid. Here we'll give you the real grid. You can come and experiment. I tell this in Israel. So many Israeli startups have come and tried their technology here. I do this in America, in Europe, every time. So many people have come. We have given them the real grid in Delhi, in Bombay, in Bangalore. Come experiment. Anything goes wrong, we know how to fix it. So most welcome all the technology companies from Switzerland, and the post lunch session, please come to the EU India workshop. We will be talking more about it. I have to start 3 other parallel sessions. I take your leave and wish you a very, very successful, productive deliberations in the next 2 hours. Thank you.